What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another video. I'm your host, Chris the Rebel. We are in the midst of the Women's Bible series. This particular lady right here is who we would call the Queen Mother. Her name is Bathsheba. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Bible, don't worry about it. Don't trip. Here to help you understand who we're talking about and her story. So with that being said, Bathsheba, known as the wife of David, the queen, or Queen Bathsheba. It is your choice what you choose to refer to her as. But the one thing that we do know is that before she became the queen, she was the wife of Uriah. Right here is where we have to go ahead and keep it real. This is the rebellious version. So with this being rebellious, then I gotta keep it real, right? So keeping it real, David seen her taking a bath. Now, we gotta paint the vision. Now, whether she was just going up there to take a bath or if she was putting on for David, it's completely up to you, your interpretation that you want to take of it. But the one thing that we do know is that David was supposed to be disciplined. He was supposed to have integrity. Not only was he not at war when kings were supposed to go to war, he was then lusting after one of his best friends, our best advisors, our guy that he trusted, wife, girlfriend, old lady, whatever you want to call it, which in man code is one of the rules. And then you begin to consider the stories you read it. It makes you wonder, how beautiful was she? If we were to do a ranking, who would be better, Esther or Bathsheba? Because Esther won a beauty pageant. If you haven't watched that video, it's in the description. Then you have Bathsheba. Now, the question that you begin to think about to yourself, right, is that after she told David, that's my husband, whatever the case may be, David still took her anyway, still had her. Maybe she enjoyed it, maybe she didn't enjoy it. We wasn't there, we don't know. But what we do know is that this was an act that David was never supposed to undertake. And how do you know this? It was a perfect parable put to him by the prophet Nathan. The Lord delivered Nathan a message. He took it before King David. In the message he depicted, there was a rich man who had all the gold, all the sheep, all the women, everything he could ever want. There was a poor man who only had one sheep. Now the rich man decided that he would want to throw a party or have a festival. And instead of using everything he had, he decides to take the one man's sheep. Now, upon David hearing this, he thought about how unfair it was that the rich man would take from such a poor and meager man, and said, whomever this man is, he should be put to death, or he should be deleted. Now, all of this came prior to something. It's crazy how the sin of a woman, the beauty of a woman, doing something wrong, how far we would go to cover it up. Think about that. See, we think about this in modern times, but it's been proven over and over and over and over that nothing under the sun is new. So before David was confronted with this parable by Nathan, what is it that sprung this forth for the Most High to have this said to him? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Uriah, who was the husband of Bathsheba, David's best friend, he was going off to war. We know that, once David laid down with her, she realized she was pregnant. Oh yeah, it's that as the world turns type stuff, ladies, for sure. It been stories like this long before it was cool. She was pregnant. She found a way to get contact with David and like, hey, I'm pregnant. Everybody around the village knows that my husband's at war, so it's no possible way that I'm supposed to be with child. And he's like, oh, dang, what to do. So then David decides that he's going to then summon Uriah back. So upon summoning Uriah back, he has a feast and everything in his honor. They drink wine, have a good time. He chilling with Bathsheba. He don't even know that that's what went on between them, but he hugging all on her. David know what's happening. He all, yay, welcome back. Everybody just, giving him the flowers, so to say. And he's the only one that doesn't know what's going on. I'm pretty sure the other royal officials didn't know. It was just between Bathsheba and David. So after it's all said and done, David and Uriah are talking. David tries to convince Uriah to go home and lay with his wife and enjoy, being home and all of that. But Uriah was like, he couldn't do it. He was like, it's too many guys out fighting. I've been with these guys in the trenches. for me to go home with my wife and for none of them to go home with their wife. It just doesn't seem right to me. I can't do it. This is around the time when kings and men are at war, and that's where I'm supposed to be right now. Not in relaxation mode. I'm supposed to be with them. I'm just going to find somewhere outside to sleep. Over here in the palace, whatever you want, but I ain't going home. So, of course, after David made preparations for him to sleep wherever it is for him to sleep, I'm pretty sure he sat up all night like, God darn it. Well, if that's not going to work, might as well just send him on back. So he sent him back, but after sitting up all night pondering in his mind what to do, how to solve this problem before it escalates. He don't need the tabloids from back in the old days saying how the king got a baby outside and all of that stuff, so to say. And with that being said, he then issues a decree. He says, well, if I can't get him to cover up the mess because it ain't no DNA and all that stuff back then what I'm going to have to do is delete him. So he decides to write a letter, sealing it within his own seal. Many times of royal seals is also not only sealed with the thumb and blood, but it's also sealed with a royal seal, so that every person of high command who would see it would recognize it and knowing that it comes officially from the king's hand. So, as noble as Uriah was, he is then sent back with the letter, holding his faith. At any given time, he could have opened this letter and seen what was going on. It's a very possible way. See, what many people don't understand is this was a way that many of the political people were able to get rid of some of their rivals that were up in rankings, because many times in old cultures, military people normally were able to take the reins as king. So if a person gained a lot of accolades on the military with soldiers, in the military where soldiers come back speaking of their heroics and all of that, then it builds urge in the people, which makes him want to be king, because then they're like, he's a warrior, we can fight anybody. You know how that goes. Protection, provision, all that. But with that being said, what then happened once he made it to the battle, he was then given over the letter to the general because it was addressed to them. The generals look at it, they read David's language, which probably read, when the battle gets the fiercest, put Uriah in the front of the line to help keep the soldiers at rank, and so they won't desert and whatever. Put some technical stuff on it to where the generals wouldn't think nothing suspicious of it. And then it had instructions to burn the letter after reading it. And that is exactly what happened. When the battle happened, it began to get fierce. That's whenever one of the generals who read the letter, or all the generals, whichever you want to take as your interpretation of it. But a general then told Uriah, hey, go over there and circle the ranks. Make sure whatever. And when Uriah did it, he was deleted, which takes us to what I told you about with the parable. Because the Lord had seen that he took everything from him, including him. But the one thing that we do know about the Most High is that he is merciful. The punishment for Bathsheba was that she was to lose, by miscarriage, the child that they made unpurely wrong, out of wrongness, out of David's lack of discipline. They were put in this principle. They were put in this pickle, so to say. But there's always a positive and a caveat. Because David, after taking on a wife, during the times they did that, took on his wife of a friend, all that different stuff. And then he comforted her through her sadness, and there's a son that was conceived. His name was Solomon, the richest and most wisest king of them all. The one thing that we do know about Solomon is that he spoke to the Lord and was asked what it was that he wanted as being the son of David. But the other most important thing that we can take from this is that Bathsheba's experience in getting into her spot in the throne as queen was not the same experience as Esther would have. This was more on a force type nature. I'm pretty sure she sat many times thinking how she didn't ask for this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, she ended up also ensuring that during the time where David was old, that her son Solomon was king. And then not only making sure he was king, then she also had a gold throne constructed. It's written in the scriptures. When you read of Solomon construct his palace and the Lord's house and all these different things, that he also is put in description of the metrics of the throne for his mother Bathsheba. That is why I named her the Queen Mother. Because she was out there, so to say. She went through the toughest things and came out on top as a queen, sitting on her throne with her son, who's the richest king of all the kings, the most knowledgeable, where people came from far and wide to listen to the wisdom that the Most High gave them. That's a thing that I'm sure that appeals to any woman's watching this nature, as in being the nurturer, nurturing something to full growth, or nurturing someone to full growth. And once they reach their full potential, watching them blossom as you age is what any person would want to do with their life, especially a woman, because they are the birther of the children. With that being said, my name is Chris the Rebel. I appreciate you again for your time. This was Miss Bathsheba, the Queen of Israel. I'm out.